The Edinburgh Derby is always eagerly anticipated, and there was another full house at Tynecastle Saturday lunchtime as the Capital's Big Two prepared for their latest head-to-head. 2 straight defeats for Hearts, still trying to book a top 6 finish, while Hibernian had also been misfiring and faced an almighty battle with Dundee United and Motherwell for the Europa League places. Everyone braced for a thriller after the previous meeting at Easter Roads. That was the New Year fixture. Gordon Smith put the visitors in front. Anthony Stokes equalised for the home side. And McCormick and Palazuelos were red-carded as tempers boiled over. Goncalves, Stevenson, Mulrooney and Elliott out for Hearts. Jim Jeffries handed starts to Ian Black, Palazuelos, Andy Driver and Gary Glenn. Nish suspended, Hogg ruled out and Hanlon missing. Hibernian welcome back Sol Bamba. Tico and Stevenson also returned in a reshuffled back four. Commentary, Rob McLean.
10 points between these deadly rivals in the SPL. Larry Kingston eyeing up the long range shooting chance. Not too far away. An early threat on goal from Kingston. Kingston to Jason Thompson. Up ahead of him, Suso, the sub. He's away from Lewis Stevenson. Decent ball in, back off the post. Andy Driver fires Arch in front. It was a gamble by Jim Jeffries to include him in the first place. After a long injury absence, that gamble has just paid off. And that's a bad mistake by Graham Stack. Thought it was heading into the side net. Back off the upright and crushed in by Driver. Andy Driver back to Ruben Palazuelos, off Stephen Tico and behind, and Hearts have a corner. Egert Jonsson waiting in the middle. Driver's delivery, there's Jonsson, there's Gary Glenn, and it's 2-0 Hearts. 2 in 3 minutes. Jonsson not picked up, got away from Kevin McBride for the first header and diverted away from Stack by Glenn at close range. In from Driver, Jonsson again, headed off the line by John Rankin. Every set piece here is a big danger at the back to Hibs. Again, Jonsson was the man, found some room in the box. Rankin to the rescue. That's Abua, just too high. Another opportunity for the home team to extend their advantage. This time the Driver in-swinger, that came off Miller. Palazuelos had a go from close range. It looked like Tico in the way, as again the alarm bells were ringing here for Hibs. Stevenson's pass out wide for Suso. Jason Thompson, good ball in for Abua. Had a flash at it with his right boot, and again from him, just too high. Sol Bamba given away cheaply. Ruben Palazuelos slides it through. Bamba can atone for his mistake, doesn't do so. Abua back for Suso, what a miss. What an opportunity to put the match out of sight for Suso, and he's wondering what everyone's wondering at the moment. How did this stay out? 3 yards out, over the top. Is there a way back here for Hibs, I wonder? Hooked away by Ryan Stevenson. Flicked on by Gary Glenn. Gets it back from David Abua, and he's in on goal as Glenn. Can he strike again? He's taken it too far wide. Well, that was a good intervention at the back to deny him, as Glenn hoped he was homing in on his second goal. Well done, Lewis Stevenson. Frustration on the touchline for Jim Jeffries. Larry Kingston's free kick, that was Glenn's header, and a superb save by Graham Stack, atoning for his earlier error to keep this out. That's Abua for Driver, flicked away from Ian Murray, chance for Driver's second, and hooked away in the nick of time by Stevenson on the goal line, as Hearts had another chance to make the points completely safe. Tico's throw. Miller for Witherspoon. Does well to get that in. It's for Riordan, and it's 2-1. 11 minutes from time, Hibs are back in it, with Derek Riordan's 10th SPL goal of the campaign, 13 in total, and this makes it 2-1. Hearts hanging on in there at 2-1. Thompson hits the deck, play on. Suso on the byline. Driver. Stevenson. Stack save. And Hearts have to settle for 2-1.
So Hearts win the derby. It's 1 win and 7 for Hibernian in the SPL now, Jack. They didn't help themselves on Saturday, did they, with some of the defending that we saw there?
No, I think Hearts started the game particularly well. You know, they came out, they'd obviously been fired up by Jim Jeffries, and I think it was important for Hibs to withstand that, and they didn't manage to do that. You know, it's a soft goal to concede. The only defence I would give Graham Stack is I think the cross from Suso takes a deflection of John Rankin, and I think Graham Stack thinks the ball's obviously going to travel out for a by kick. The spin on the ball takes it back in off the post, and I think it's a good finish from Andrew Driver, from somebody that's obviously not played a lot of football recently.
Any excuses for that one?
No, I think that's just decision making. You know, I think that probably comes on the back of the mistake he's made for the first goal. It probably he's looking to atone for that error. Rushes off his line quickly, and in another day it could have cost his side another goal.
I mean, that came to nothing, but actually they were under pressure constantly, and it was Andy Driver back in. He's just back to fitness. His corners were causing so many problems, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it was a Hibs side, obviously, with Nish, Hogg, Hanlon absent, so it meant that Hearts carried an advantage in height, and I think that was evident at set pieces. The delivery from Andrew Driver was good, but every time Hearts got a free kick or corner, they looked threatening, and I think Hibs were fortunate not to concede a goal from them.
Yeah, I mean, using that aerial ability and also getting into the right positions, I suppose, like Gary Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, from that you see that I think it's Kevin McBride that's picking up Egert Jonsson, and I've played with Kevin. He's a terrific footballer, but I don't think his area ability would admit himself his strongest point, and Jonsson attacks the ball really well. Gary Glenn's in a very good position for a striker. He's obviously reaping the benefits of John Robertson's coaching.
Yes, John will be delighted to hear that. There were all those corners, but actually Hearts just made chance after chance in open play as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that would be very pleasing for Jim Jeffries and Billy Brown. I think it was probably a criticism of them before they took over, and even early on in their charge this time, that they weren't creating enough opportunities. But from the highlights, we see how many chances they had to go on and kill the game and take it beyond Hibs' reach. And ultimately, they were probably fortunate that it didn't cost them in the end. But I'm sure they'll be delighted that they managed to create so many chances. Just a little disappointed that it didn't take more off them.
Yeah, well, I guess they'll be hoping that they can be a bit more clinical in front of goal. Actually, Graham Stack, we saw him earlier, just a couple of good saves to make up for the mistake. And then suddenly, of course, out of nowhere, Hibs are back in it.
Yeah, and that's probably typical of Derek Riordan. You know, he was quiet throughout the game, but he does that on occasions and yet pops up with very important goals, sometimes more spectacular than that one, but it's still a good finish. And as I mentioned, it was fortunate for Hearts that it didn't cost them.
Yeah, great day for Hearts in the Edinburgh derby.